Dan Williams, Thrive Outdoors. It is August, and just around the corner is that time of year. September 1st is bow season in Wisconsin, and then it's staggered throughout the United States. October 1st is Illinois. And so thought this would be a really good time to talk about deer stand injuries and statistics that they've ran through the years at some pretty large universities. Some of these are directly from trauma surgeons, and they can be helpful if you look at the stats. The first photograph you're going to see, or filming there, of that stand, that is about 18 feet and too high. The ladder is really jacked up also. Not my stand, just off my property. The other stand is about 15 feet, and that is much more appropriate, and we're going to get into all the details and keep you safe right now. So studies are all over the place. I've seen some stats that say 1/3 of all deer hunters in their lifetime will get injured climbing in or out of a deer stand. I've seen other numbers that are much less. The stand that I primarily used were fixed stands that my father and I built together, some plywood, 2x4s, seat, a lot of 16-penny nails, and for a ladder we used an old TV antennas, which were great actually. 10% of hunters are injured every year, with some statistics that came out in about 2019. Out of that 10%, 75% are falls out of fixed stands. Not the kind you carry on your back and you climb up, not any of those. The mean height of those stands that increases your injury big time is 15 feet. Between 15 and 18 feet, if you fall out of a deer stand, on average, you're traveling at 30 miles per hour. That's fast. So, a Wisconsin study, they found that 80% of fall victims required operations. That came down to spinal injuries, intra-abdominal injuries, ruptured spleen, ruptured pancreas, a burst fracture of a vertebrae, and I think 10% had facial lacerations. So major injuries from falling out of a stand in that study. In a retrospective study out of Madison, Wisconsin, they looked between 2008 and 2011, they had 54 injuries. And out of those 54 injuries, they had 10% were collapsed lung, 5% were facial lacerations, 7 of the 54 had loss of consciousness. And what people don't realize, you fall out of the deer stand, you get injured, and then a lot of people don't think about the rehab afterwards. The rehab afterwards can be 3 months, 4 months, up to a year. So that's very, very significant. The causes for why individuals fell out of these stands: poor construction, not wearing a harness, and then it comes down to were falling to sleep. And out of all of these studies, the stereotype of alcohol, not one person had any drop of alcohol in their system. None of the 54 and none of the study that came out of New York State. So that is a myth that this alcohol imbibing drunk deer hunter is out there falling out of stands. So important to look at. So how can we prevent this? What can we do to change those stats? Now I'm going to toss some things out here you're going to adamantly disagree with, and that's fine, but it would behoove you not to at least do some of these. One, I would like you to clean out the rocks and sticks and small trees from under your stand. You don't plan on falling out of your stand, but let's make it safe when you hit, okay? So any rock, small branches, small saplings, cut them, get them out within a 6-foot radius. That's important. Make sure that your stand is extremely secure. Also, you need to practice in the early morning or in the early evening when there's not much light, because that's how you're going to be that's when you're going to get in the stand to hunt. No higher than 15 feet. And here's where the controversy comes in. I've killed probably 50% of my 60 deer that I've killed in a stand 15 feet or lower. And yes, I have been up higher, up to 20 feet. A little scary up that high, but I have been that high. The other thing is in the below 32 degrees, it's freezing. Early in the morning, you're going to climb up and get into your stand, and it's going to be slick. You don't think about this a lot of times, but there's going to be frost on that stand. So a little small plastic bag of soot from the fireplace, some salt, and sprinkle it on that stand will go a long ways in increasing your safety. Always be aware of where your feet are on the stand. Numerous times I'm up in a stand and I take my foot and I go all the way to the edge and come back like 4 inches. And it gives me an idea where both of my feet are at any given time. Buck fever, real thing. Got a beautiful 12-point buck in front of you, or that big elk is coming by, and you get anxious. The adrenal glands are pumping, your hands are getting sweaty. One of the only ways to get through that is experience. I get that. But you need to be aware of your safety first, deer second. Easier said than done. I'm very well aware that that's true. Always unload your gun before getting in the stand. Unload it before you get out. Bow hunters, take a long string, pull up your quiver. I actually have seen in the last 30 years 2 arrow injuries, one in his side, one in his leg, from not carrying the quiver up to his bow. So it's a real thing. It does happen. Nasty injury. Speaking of the arrows, I've also seen arrows that the hunter has left inside, so they're field dressing the deer, and then they get some nasty sliced up hands or arm when they're reaching inside field dressing the deer. So that's really important to remember. You want to carry a med bag, something really simple. I'll put at the end of this video my little tiny med bag that I carry. A whistle is really important. A lot of times you guys, you're going to be way out there. Someone's going to be coming looking for you also if you're not back in time. You want to leave a note with your spouse, your friends, where you're going to be at, what time you're expected back. Coat. I've harped on this before. Some of you may have blown it off. Some of you may have thought it was pretty important. My coat, I always have at least two, sometimes 3 different ways of closing the coat. So buttons, zipper, Velcro. The reason for that is, especially during deer season, you fall out of a stand, most likely this is what's going to happen. You're not, if you're quick enough to think about fall and roll, that's great. But this is going to be the maneuver you're going to do, and you're going to break a wrist, you're going to break some fingers. So you want to have a coat that you can close and open with one hand. So hence the importance of having 3 different ways of closing your coat. Very important. So those are some ideas to prevent injuries. Look at that deer height. Always wear the harness. Very, very important. Test out your harness. All right, guys, stay safe this fall and winter. Remember, double, triple check getting in and out of the stand. Wear your safety harness. Very important. Those numbers don't lie. That's objective data. So please, please stay safe this fall and winter. Let's see how good of a hunter you are. Let's see if you can find that like button, subscribe. Take care. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your face to the wind. Bye-bye.